Hey everybody, welcome to the channel as we dive into a delicious deli time number 2. Yeah, we got some classics. Meatloaf plus, that's right, turkey paninis. Well, any kind of panini. Paninis are all good, right? And then of course we've got a sweet finish with my stepmother's cherry gunk. What's cherry gunk? Well, it's darn tasty is what it is. So don't forget to like and subscribe and leave me a comment if you're so inclined. So let's get started with some meatloaf. You know, I think this should be a deli classic, right? The plan here is basically smoke and glaze, pretty straightforward. I got 1.5 pounds of 80/20 ground beef married up with a pound of ground pork, some medium diced and sauteed onions, 1 can of the Recteq fire roasted tomatoes, 3 tablespoons of that W sauce, a couple of eggs, some breadcrumbs, and of course some fresh ground black pepper. All this is going to come together and effectively give us a very delicious dinner for sure. Now, first up is some onions. I like to just dice these up pretty straightforward, and of course I saute them with a little bit of butter and sweat them down to where they're nice and golden. Okay, so starts off a little like this, but then I put a little bit of that kosher salt on there to help the onion sweat a little bit, and then before too long, well, they end up looking like this. Okay, I know that doesn't look beautiful, but to me it tastes great. Okay, so pretty straightforward on the meatloaf. We're going to smoke this at 250 for probably about 2.5 hours. We're going to do a barbecue sauce glaze once it hits 150, and then we're going to pull it at 160. But first, we got to marry up, a couple of eggs, the ground beef, the ground pork, some of that W sauce that I mentioned earlier. This stuff is really good. If you haven't tried it, you need to do that. Recteq, we got the fire roasted kicked out here, but you can use any flavor that you want. I like all their flavors actually. And then we're going to put some fresh ground pepper in there. And then, of course, we're going to beat this up, but not overly up. Just get everything, somewhat combined, and then we're going to stop at that point. I like to have a little bit of texture in there. And then we're going to add a little bit of the breadcrumbs to the mix, and basically make sure that everything in there is well combined, including the onions that get tossed in there as well. And before you know it, we've got this thing ready to basically be dropped into our mold. Okay, I'm using a standard bread thing here, and then effectively what I do is I line that with parchment paper. I press everything into the mold, and then I fold the parchment paper on top and just kind of press that down just so it holds in there. Now, I know you can put this in the freezer, but I don't. I put it in the fridge and get it really chill. Okay, and then basically at the end of that, I take it, flip it out. Okay, just as easy as that. And then at this point, I start to just make sure that it's all holding together pretty well, and I give it a little bit of push in on the sides. Now this time I'm going to season it with some of this John Henry's pecan rub. I mean, this is the one rub they make in a big bottle. I don't know why, so it's got to be good. And I'm just going to give this thing a dose, all around, basically 360 coverage as best as I can, and a little more on top. And with that in mind, we are tossing this, on to the indirect side and at 250 degrees Fahrenheit. And I'm putting this over a drip pan just so I can catch all those drippings a little bit there. And we're just going to let this go, And before too long, we're ready for the glaze. Now, in the glaze, I'm using Meat Mitch's Womp sauce, okay? And unfortunately, I kind of ran out of that. So, on the other side, well, I went a little thick with Kinder's Founder's Reserve. And of course, you can put any kind of, glaze on here that you want. But I just went ahead and, put that in place and actually added a little bit more a little bit later. And then I went ahead and decided to brown it up a little bit with my torch just to try and give it a little bit of that crustification. And before too long, we were there. And let me tell you something. This came out super damn awesome. Look at that smoke ring. I'm telling you. This was way easy. Okay, anybody can do this. Solid smoke flavor. And according to Lucy, the barbecue sauce beat ketchup, okay? It has me thinking I should probably look at some smoked meatballs. But the real kicker takeaway for me overall was Lucy doesn't like meatloaf at all. And she came back for seconds on this one, okay? I mean, that's how good this was, okay? She gave up her prejudices and went straight to it. All right, now for one of my wife's favorite paninis, and who doesn't like a good panini from time to time? So I took some of the turkey breasts that I did not too long ago on that Camp Chef video, and basically decided to go ahead and just slice this on up, okay? And got out the meat slicer, and of course, anytime I get the meat slicer going, you know, I got the dog snooping around on me. That's why we call him Scooby, though, not Snoopy. Anyhow, sliced everything up, got it just right, and decided, okay, probably going to match up some bacon with this when it comes time to make the panini. But yeah, this was looking good. And then a thought occurred to me. You know what? When I was digging the turkey out of the fridge, I noticed I had some of that brisket in there too. And I'm a big fan of the brisket, you know. So I thought, you know, this is kind of like roast beef in a way. Maybe I could do a brisket panini. So I went ahead and got the brisket out, basically the flat part, and decided, okay, let's just slice this up too. And I did. And I gotta tell you, it was so good that I just sat there and had a couple of pieces cold. All right. I mean, it was pretty tasty. And of course, you know, the dog got a little special treat when I got here to the end, and you know, he was licking his chops on that. Now, for the panini side, got the panini press out and went with some of those bolo or kind of sub rolls, and just started assembling them and pressing them together and pushing them down and getting them to work. And you know, this ended up giving us, you know, basically that toasty crust on the outside with kind of that soft bread on the inside, you know, next to the meat. And the meat itself was also, you know, warmed up in the press as well. So everything actually worked together fairly well, except for this one time when things slide to the left or right and you got to reposition it. Now, one thing to notice, you see I'm using parchment paper there. There's a reason for that. That helps keep the whole press clean, because inevitably what occurs is you get a little bit of cheese spillover. Now look at that right there on that corner. That's a little cheese spillover. And I got to tell you, that is some tasty stuff there when you're lucky enough to have that happen. So for the family that night, yeah, Dad was behind the panini press, and I was just cranking these things out one after another. And everybody was just hanging out at the kitchen bar. And I got to tell you, we had some good conversation, and we had a nice meal. And of course, there was mine with the brisket and a little bit of sliced avocado on there as well. So now to break this down a little step by step, because I know I went kind of quick there. In this instance, I'm going with some rye bread. Yeah, I'm now addicted to that. A little mayonnaise on there, putting some cheese on each side, throwing down that brisket, okay, and then effectively going to basically fold that on top. And this go round, I'm putting some butter on top of each of these, and the intent is to have that kind of toast up a little bit better in the panini press. And then of course setting this on parchment paper, and then when it comes down to it, I'm doing the press, okay? And it's pretty straightforward. It just kind of comes down on top and then puts it to work there. Now, that's not to say that you can occasionally have a few things not go your way. In this next one, I went ahead and loaded up on mine a couple of eggs because I thought, why not? Let's give that a shot. Well,
I'm funny.
But you know what? I managed to fix it. I managed to correct it. And this came out pretty tasty. So I think it's true what they say. You can pretty much make a panini sandwich out of anything. Almost. So my takeaways from this, it helps to have a decent, you know, panini press. That one there I got fairly reasonable, and it's a good one. And it's I think a Vero or Vivo, something like that. Anyhow, parchment paper again helps keep it clean. Pre-flatten first. Make sure it doesn't slide out from under you. So now I'm going to get to a family favorite. This is cherry gunk, okay? Myrtle was my stepmother's mother, and my stepmother is Niki. And Niki made this for us, and it was just something that became very addictive, okay? And Myrtle, you know, what I remember of her is she must enjoy life, or must have enjoyed life, because this was really sweet, and she had some other things that kept her having fun. So we got a crust, we got a filling, we got a topping. For the crust, flour, butter, chopped pecans. For the filling, cream cheese, powdered sugar, and a carton of Cool Whip, okay? And then the topping is pretty easy. It's just basically a can of whatever, you know, pie filler you want to put, you know, on top. Now, I tend to go in with that softened butter and the pecans and half the flour up front, and then I basically add the next half of the flour afterwards, and that's just so I don't get a big old puff of powder flying up at me, you know, as I'm mixing everything up, okay? spray down a little bit of non-stick Pam on there, just so that I can start to press this in place before I put it in the oven at 350 for 20 minutes. Okay, and so once you get this in there, it's just a matter of using that parchment paper again. As you can tell, I'm kind of a fan of the parchment paper this episode, and just pressing that into all corners and getting that flat. And there you go. That's it. Okay, so we've got that kind of pressed at the bottom. And again, we're throwing that in the oven for 350 for 20 minutes, and we're basically going to let that roll. Now, while I'm letting that roll, I'm making the filling up. In this case, I'm managing to scoop out some of that cream cheese, and then we're going to go down with a cup of powdered sugar up front, blend that in, and just like the flour, I'm going to put another cup of powdered sugar in at the end, and again, just so that I can avoid the dust up that occasionally occurs. Now, that being said, one of the things I figured out on this is, there has been some shrinkflation since Myrtle's time. Okay, so I dump in my heavy Cool Whip, and then I notice, wait a second, that's 8 ounces. My recipe calls for more than that. So I had to go get another one and then top in another chunk of it, okay? Because apparently, the containers have gotten smaller over the years. Anyhow, blending that up, getting it mixed up, it's kind of nice and soft and airy, and that's looking good. And before too long, we've got that crust ready for us to, basically dump, if you will, the filling into place. So it's really pretty straightforward, basically just scooping this, on top of the crust. And then what I'm going to do is get myself a butter knife and effectively just, spread this around, kind of like I'm buttering a cake in a way, right? I mean, because effectively that's what you're doing. You're just spreading that icing or, all over there. And I will tell you, this is sweet, without a doubt. You saw how much powdered sugar I put in there. So just know going in that, this is not for the faint of heart. It's got some sugar in that. So once you get this thing, pretty much all in place, it's time to start putting the pie filling on there. All right. Start loading it out, and there you go. Can number 1 goes down. Can number 2 goes down. And it's just a matter of, spreading this out and getting it, to each of the edges. Now, once you do spread this out and get it to each of the edges, you could serve this right away if you wanted to. But what I tend to do is I tend to put this in the refrigerator for at least 1 to 2 hours. And before you know it, this is just looking good, okay? When you serve this up, believe me when I tell you, I have not met anyone that is not a fan of the cherry gunk. In fact, they demanded I made this, later that week. And I even tried one with blueberries on it. So hey, now let's go over the daily specials in the deli. That leftover pulled pork makes a fantastic chili. If you have not tried this, you definitely need to try this, okay? Just sub that in place of your ground beef. Believe me when I tell you, you will be pleased. Likewise, I took some of that leftover pulled pork, married it up with some curry over rice. Did the same thing with brisket on rice. You can make your choice there. And then I went, you know what? Let's go whole hog. I'm going to put some turkey on top of this, some salmon on top of this, some pulled pork on top of this, and some brisket on top of this. And of all of this, I have to tell you what was super pleasantly surprising. The salmon and curry combination. That is definitely getting added to the menu full time. All right, it is Zen time. When it comes to making a bet in the family, most people will not bet with me, especially when it comes to eating a cricket.
I don't think I can do this.
Yeah, you can. Don't even think about it. Just put it in there.
Pretend it's a peanut.
Get away from me.
Yep, I thought I had a sure thing here. I thought a sucker bet,
There's no
But
taste
boy,
to
was
it.
I wrong. Because at this point, I learned one thing I should never bet my wife on.
It's the thought, because there's sure no taste.
After that cricket went down, I realized I was going to have to dig deep.
You owe me. Let's go jewelry shopping.
Hey everybody, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I really enjoy it when you do that. And a like doesn't hurt either. But most of all, give me some comments.